All right, recording again. All right, so here I want to, I think the last thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to share the, all right, so getting into the 19th century, we'll spend um, 2 or 3 weeks in the 19th century here because a lot happens. So this is a painting by the English painter Thomas Cole called The Architect's Dream. And you can see down here on this column an architect fantasy. Like this is his architectural fantasy of Egyptian temples, Great Pyramid, Greek, Roman, Gothic, Renaissance, all the great architecture all in one painting. And this idea of nostalgia for the past really is this, tied up in romanticism, which is romanticism is an attitude or intellectual orientation that emerged in the 19th century in Europe and the United States. It is characterized by a rejection of the calm, harmonious, and idealized 18th century neoclassicism. Excuse me. Romanticism emphasized individualism and celebrated what is emotional, visionary, and transcendental. Now, that's a lot, but I think what we will see is that you get this more idiosyncratic or individualized expression in some of these revival styles. And this is the Royal Pavilion in Brighton, England, which was built for King George IV, who, previous to being King George IV, he was the Prince Regent, and Regency style is named for that period of time when he was in his Regency period, which is really like a neoclassicism that the Regency style is more like Greek and Egyptian. Now, this also you can see, this has what they would have called an Oriental appearance to it. It is Indian, and the English in India is a long story, and not a very I guess the English don't make themselves look good with the empire, but this interest in bringing a bit of that, what they considered to be exotic, back to England. The town of Brighton, which is on the southern English coast, is it was a very just like small fishing village, but it kind of built up into this resort for the wealthy, and the king having this the Royal Pavilion built in Brighton was really one of the things that helped accelerate, expand Brighton into a larger town and then city. And some of it had to do with the employing people to build this place. His idea is that it would be, this is kind of like more like a museum-like display for his possessions and curiosities, which was something that the English liked to have exhibitions of things from around the world. Here's an interior. So you see it has these like lotus style lamps, but this is some good old fashioned chinoiserie, and it was meant to be this exotic ornament. And this, this great banquet hall and this vast kitchen. This house was meant, when it was designed, to be like the cutting edge of convenience, sanitation, lighting, heat. This kitchen was very modern for the period of time. This was kind of like one of the more, he wanted to have the most contemporary services in his house, and he's the king, so this is like a resort house for the king. So yeah, that's Brighton Pavilion. Now, Gothic revival is very nostalgic, but also really this place where the English, since they were involved in Gothic the first time around, Gothic becomes kind of like its own neoclassical style, where they revive it, and they can do more things with it in a modern sense, and they kind of play around with it, and it is like this romantic idea where they use it as it's really like this way of creating some like self-expression of the client, the person who has the money to have it built. Right? You see, this is done in the late 18th century, like mid to late 18th century, really like the middle of the 18th century. So it's a bit early, but this like Gothic revival is kind of always there for the English. Right? I'll be right back. I'm going to see what Joey wants. Joe! Hi. Ciao, boys. Okay. So you, looking at this, do you recognize what's Gothic about this? Anyone? Pointed arch, for example? Yes. And some of this ornament is painted on, whereas in a in a Gothic church it would not have been painted on. So the interior, so there are these quatrefoil skylights with so it looks Gothic, but it's not a Gothic church. Here in this residence of Strawberry Hill, you can see what is really this elaborate ornament on the ceiling that really is meant to imitate these fan vaults from Salisbury Cathedral in the 13th century. And here, the library, you can see these bookshelves built with this. Really, it's like almost like it's a choir screen and altar, or like a place for the bishop's chair around the fireplace. This is a painting of a English Neo-Gothic salon. So you have what you have here is residential architecture being built to look like ecclesiastical architecture from the Middle Ages. And the furniture is reinvented to look Gothic, when like this is not this furniture didn't exist back in the Middle Ages. It's a 19th century invention. here is a page from a manuscript. We looked at this way back when we looked at the Middle Ages. And you can see the color and the gold fleur-de-lis. It's really like this very similar color scheme, this very deep, rich, ultramarine blue with the gold. For contemporary Gothic style, you have how to curtain a Gothic window. There was a guy, the Houses of Parliament that burned down. They were rebuilt in the 19th century, and they were made in this Gothic revival style. Now, this guy, Pugin, he was behind a lot of this he was really behind the Gothic revival movement in England, or he became kind of like the leader of it, where he wrote this book, The True Principles of Pointed or Christian Architecture, where he promoted Gothic revival as this particularly English style, and really something that is on par with the classics of the Romans and the Greeks. And it is morally superior because it's English and it's Christian. So here's some detail of the Houses of Parliament. You can see these the crockets that you might find on Gothic churches, and this tracery, the type of the way the sections of the windows with these sort of foil, this has got a cinquefoil arch on the window. Inside, it is a little more contemporary and very lavish. This is not really, this is not exactly what you would find in a church. This is a contemporary 19th century expression of really almost like combining something like Baroque and Gothic. So the Houses of Lords, that's one of the two English legislative bodies. There's House of Commons, House of Lords. The Queen's Throne. So this is a throne for Queen Victoria. I guess begun 1836. She ascended the throne in 1837. So this is kind of very much like what you would find set aside for the bishop of the English Church in the Middle Ages, but this is for the Queen. Queen's robing room. Have any of you watched the TV series called The Crown? It's about Queen Elizabeth II, who is the current English monarch, who has been the monarch for a very long time. She was, there's a lot of it starts with when she was young and became Queen of England as a young woman, and it sort of follows her through the decades. But you'll see a lot of this. They do a nice job of recreating the appearance of it back in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. But it all still takes place in these, in these environment, in this environment. So Gothic revival is a What? Let's go. You can stop now. Let's end the show. There we go. Gothic revival is an important, very important to the 19th century, especially in England. But it became a style that I guess there is like a unique quality to Gothic revival in the 19th century. In the 1920s, we have like this like really like very understated Gothic ornament on this building. I wouldn't, it's not one of the best in Chicago, but it's better than some. But this Gothic revival, or just like using elements from Gothic, especially since the 19th century, has been one of the like small number of go-to styles in the American and in the European tradition, where if you use it, it carries a certain legitimacy in terms of quality. Any questions about that? Anybody? Okay. Well, I think I'm going to stop there this evening, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to go back to the midterm in Blackboard. I'm going to open it, set it to open now as soon as I log off of this, so that if you want to get started on the midterm this evening, you can. I currently have it set to open at 9 o'clock tonight, but I'll just open it a little sooner so you can get at it if you feel like it. Yeah, next week we'll talk more about next week I'm going to talk about Victorian arts and crafts. Possibly get into Art Nouveau. Okay. So if you you're going to also submit your 12 of your vocabulary cards. I'd like you to use the discussion board section that I created for it. If for some reason it's not working, or just think if you already sent them to me by email, that's okay. But I would prefer that they are posted in the Blackboard discussion, so that they're all kind of in one place for me. So in the meantime, between this week and next week, yes, I have a nice long 3-day weekend, so perfect for getting some grading done. So I apologize for not getting to that stuff sooner, but it will, bit by bit, you will have your assessments. I also wanted to say that when in the for the discussion board assignments, when I read what your thread is, I've been commenting as a response to your thread, and then going to the grading section and giving you a grade there. And I hope it's clear what how you did, or why you got the grade you got. And if it's not clear, please ask me. All right.
Thank you, Duffy.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Duffy. Good night.
Good night.
See you next week.
See you next week.